Dordt University tonight celebrated the launch of a new program that promises to address the shortage of skilled nurses across the country. And the nurses who enroll in this new program won't have to leave their jobs to study on campus. KTIV's Sophie Wyckoff joins us in studio tonight to tell us more. Sophie?
Yeah, many rural communities face a shortage of primary care providers. Dordt University is taking that step to help strengthen the healthcare workforce across Iowa. They're launching a new Master of Science in Nursing and Family Nurse Practitioner program.
But way back when I was a student, Dordt didn't even have nursing, not to mention an online nurse practitioner program. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Dr. Deb Baumgard graduated from Dordt, became a nurse, and now serves as the director of Dordt's nursing program. She is excited for the new Master of Science in Nursing and Family Nurse Practitioner program, and the opportunities it will give students that she didn't have. The 2- or 4-year plan of study combines online coursework with clinical hours completed in students' home regions.
There's also 750 hours of clinical practice with it, which is vitally important to understanding their role as a nurse practitioner.
This allows working nurses to remain in their communities, at their jobs, all while advancing their education.
It's different courses that just totally relate to nurse practitioner. There are a couple of courses in nursing education that go with it so that they could move into becoming a nurse educator as well as a nurse practitioner or to help educate their patients.
The goal is to prepare nurses who are highly skilled and approach healthcare as a form of service, caring for the physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being of all people they serve.
It's available to anyone, which is really nice.
The Master of Science in Nursing and Family Nurse Practitioner program will start in the fall of 2026 with 15 courses. To apply to this program, students can fill out an online application, and we've added that link to this story at KTIV.com.
Sophie Wyckoff in studio. Sophie, thank you.